Rock and Stone rat bags, it's Jade. Welcome to a starter guide for Deep Rock Galactic in 2022 and more for the PlayStation players that are picking it up as free as part of the PlayStation Plus for January. It's the first time the game is going to be available on PlayStation after being on early access on Xbox and PC for years. It hit full release in 2020 and it's been doing fantastic ever since. Deep Rock Galactic, of course, is a 4-person co-op shooter game, but you can play it solo, online or offline, whatever you choose. It's got an overwhelming amount of systems, XPs, numbers and more, so I'm going to explain all of that after we go through the very first basics of the tutorial, which you'll encounter when you boot it up for the first time. Let's go. For the tutorial you have the gunner class, but there are additionally 3 other classes that you can play around and mess around with straight away, and then you can unlock brand new weapons from them as you progress. The mule is your walking chest on legs. You pretty much dump all the resources that you'll mine into him, as you can only carry a limited amount. It will pretty much follow you all the way round, and usually at the end of certain missions you'll have to press a button on him to follow him to the dropship and make your escape. Although there are some missions where you won't actually have him alongside you. This is gold. It's very valuable, not just because it can give you extra bonuses for XP, but you use it for buying lots of stuff as it gets converted into credit. It's one of the resources that is more of a currency rather than a kind of item you need. As you progress, you'll find a bunch of minerals that you'll require to purchase and unlock, modifications for your weapons and certain other items. But gold directly counts towards your credits, which you'll also need to purchase and unlock some of these. So never pass up the opportunity to get some. You really can't hold too many minerals and stuff on your person, so you're going to have to get used to transporting it over to your mule. Tapping the triangle button will call the mule over to wherever you've left that stick, or it will follow you at a leisurely pace just behind. There's always lots of colour in the Deep Rock Galactic world, and you've got to pay attention to sometimes when that gets broken up. Dirt piles like this allow you to build into another section of cave. You can press the touchpad and you can see exactly where the cave is and aim directly for the right space. The tutorial doesn't tell you about the scanner until you've got to your 3rd dirt wall, so I'm telling you now to make it a bit easier. You will be able to fit into a generally 1 pick size hole, although if you elevate or deviate a little bit you will have to make the hole a little bit bigger. Don't worry about your robots, your machines, your droids, they will pretty much come through even if they do look a bit too chunky. Now as for this tutorial, we've got the gunner, which has got a zipline launcher. It's a great one to have, particularly if you're playing in a team with friends. But each class has its own unique one. You've got a grapple hook, you've also got a platform maker, and one of the tools has its own unique power drill that can pretty much go through any of the dirt very quickly. Now you can take full damage, but eventually you will unlock certain perks and items that will mitigate some of that. All the equipment has cooldowns or limited time use. You also can grab onto ledges when you're close enough, and you can kind of hike yourself up a lot of edges that you think you're not able to. There's lots of minerals and crystals in Deep Rock Galactic, but a lot of them are here to just show you the way and light up the area. Like these crystals here, they're not worth anything, so don't waste your time gathering them. So we've got another dirt pile, and again we're going to be taking a look, and this one's just a bit down. Dirt is a lot easier to mine through with just your pickaxe, and you will unlock upgrades to your pickaxe that allow you to do power moves and do more area effect of damage when you use them. You can use the pickaxe to also attack enemies if you're really trying to conserve on ammo, but there will be some ammo drops that you'll also be able to unlock with a certain mineral called nitra. All classes have obviously their primary and secondary, and eventually when you unlock ranks within each class, you'll have the option then to go ahead and swap out the primary and secondaries. So the gunner's got a revolver and a pretty chunky chain gun. Some of the other classes have grenade launchers as well as flamethrowers. You'll get the idea when you go and mess around with them, and I probably will do a guide on what are the best classes or which ones to use. Light in the way is super important. Some of the dwarves have more intensity flares, and one of the classes has a actual flare launcher which you can stick into walls a bit more precisely. Now the flare glow sticks you see me chuck around, they do eventually run out, but you'll notice that was glowing a little bit here even in the dark. And this is the resource that you'll probably be getting quite a bit of in these dig missions. Dig missions pretty much have you getting one primary resource and hopefully maybe gathering a second resource, usually some sort of plant life. Simply mine it all up. You can be a little bit haphazard. It is usually worth digging out every small little piece, as you will gain a tiny fraction of it. Obviously there's lots of different enemies. They're mostly glyphids though. Varieties that ones that will explode with toxicity, or some that explode with just a lot of fire damage. And these guys, they don't explode at all. but they will do some damage if they get close enough to chomp on you. Each class has their own unique grenade. Some are designed to slow the glyphids down, others are really about doing lots of damage. The gunner's special ability is pretty much having a shield. Certain creatures won't be able to step in, but that doesn't mean all creatures. Absolutely, for me, if you're playing this game solo, you want to get the engineer unlocked a lot, as that has got a special turret that you can deploy, which really helps out. The shield is definitely a second best, although it doesn't last that long. Stay agile, move around the caves a lot, or sometimes even dig yourself a little bunker and protect and shoot in one location can be a method. It's all up to you and your playstyle. If you're any good at shooters, I'm sure you get along fine. The mechanics in Deep Rock Galactic are really fantastic. I love the animations and it's pretty responsive considering it's not the main purpose of the game. You really will be doing a lot of digging and a lot of exploring caves. It is almost like a survival game. Minecraft, but with dwarves. Now the miner's manual is pretty decent. If you go and press the pause menu and then L1, it'll bring up all the different things you need to know. But hopefully I'm going to be giving you the more obvious tips on top of some of this. And it means you don't have to sit there reading 20 different menus. But it will give you the lowdown on enemies, their weaknesses, and lots of the enemies have weak points, usually glowing lights on their bodies, basically their bums a lot of the time, where you can actually take them down a lot quicker if you're a bit more precision aiming. You can turn your toggle light off. I don't think necessarily enemies react to light too much, so you might as well just persistently leave it on. We're still looking for more of the morkite. This substance here grows in very small little shards. It's pretty much going to replenish your health. It's called sugar. Hack away with your pickaxe, and once you're full you'll notice there's a few globlets left on the floor. They'll stay there through pretty much the whole of this mission, so you can always run over it a bit later if you're low on health. You do have a shield in Deep Rock Galactic, that is your first line of defence, and it can be corroded by a whole bunch of fauna as well as creature attacks before they'll actually start doing health damage to you. The shield does regenerate, but your health doesn't, so pay attention to that fact. Now you don't get to try them out in the first tutorial mission, but you will get a droid, a pretty much sentry turret that flies around called Bosco, and he can dig up this resource for you. Anything you point your scanner at and direct him to. He'll also shoot creatures come and attack you, and you can even get him to retrieve eggs that are hidden away in geodes rather than you having to dig. Like I said, just use the scanner, point an aim, and let him go and do his business. Whenever you start missions, make sure you get nitro, this red stuff, as soon as possible. 80 of this. And you can press down on the D-pad a couple of times and call in a ammo supply drop, because your ammo will run out. We'll talk more later about Bosco. The mule itself can't be upgraded, but you can upgrade yourself to unload materials into him quicker and basically hold more yourself. Now once you've got the primary objective in these digging missions, which is usually morkite, it's not really worth gathering any more. Morkite is one of the few resources that you won't necessarily be able to use in future for crafting weapons or unlocking items. It can contribute to an overall little bonus you get for basically mining lots of resources, but I would say once you've got the primary objective, you don't necessarily need to go and dig out every single bit of morkite. So here's the button. Like I told you earlier, we can call the drop pod, but here it's worth maybe going a little bit back to where you was, especially if you're in a very deep trench or cave. A 5-minute countdown normally starts, and now you've got to get back to that drop pod location. On the low levels of difficulty, you'll get waves of enemies that come and attack periodically. The higher you go up in difficulty, the more these waves become more frequent and more deadly. Usually when drop pod's called, a wave will start. Now usually your mule will start heading off towards the direction of the drop pod as well, and it will usually light up the way and give you the shortest route. But sometimes it does mean it will go up certain places that you can't get without using one of your traversal tools. And here he comes. I don't know why he's a he. Just had that sort of masculine features. Now you can kind of cheat a little bit and jump on top of him to take you all the way back, but usually the caves are a lot more smaller and it's pretty easy to get knocked over. You'll notice these little light bars, they'll give you directions of what way you should be heading. This does set up usually a bit of a frantic mad dash, so make sure you've completed any objectives like the first and secondary objective before you call that drop pod. There's only a few instances where the drop pod might be called instantaneously. You normally always have control of exactly when it gets called. Once it's delivered its payload, the gates will open up and you can make your escape. If you're playing with others or with friends, don't worry if you leave a dwarf behind. Ideally, you want to all make your escape as you get bonus credits for all 4 dwarves. However, if one of you doesn't make it, it doesn't mean the mission fails. You'll still get all the XP rewards as normal. There's a whole lot of numbers when you first finish your first few matches of Deep Rock Galactic, and it can be a bit overwhelming exactly what they all mean. So let's break it down quickly. You'll need credits for absolutely everything: assignments, upgrades, modifications, the whole lot, as well as cosmetics. Mostly for your specific dwarf characters. Your primary objective normally offers one of the biggest chunks of credits you'll receive, and on top of that you get a survival bonus. That's pretty much if all 4 parties, all members of that party, make it back to the dropship, you'll get that bonus multiplied by how many. If one of you doesn't make it and it can't be revived, you'll simply get all the rest of the same rewards, but you won't get as many credits for the person that fell. And then you can see gold mined. It's really a lucrative one. You should never pass up the opportunity to get gold when you see it. I know I've said this twice, I really mean it. Pick up all the gold. There was no secondary objective in that match, but there always usually is one in the majority of the actual missions you'll come across. Then we've got the XP. It's pretty much the same story. Your primary objective normally gives the most amount of XP, although if you really go into town and mined absolutely every single item you can get, that can also be massive too. Killing creatures doesn't actually give you a whole ton of XP, so don't be sitting there at the end waiting for the drop pods to run down its timer while you sit on the ramp shooting at any enemies that come by. It's minimal at best. You might only get 1 XP per enemy. Instead, it's better just to leave as soon as the mission's done. As I said, the only exception to that is gathering any materials that you might have time to grab. But you shouldn't really be thinking about that once you've called the airdrop. Under each of the tools, you'll also have this little bar giving an example of exactly what you did during the match. Now these are just stats though. They'll show how many kills you got, how much you mined, how many revives you did, and how many times you were downed. They don't count towards any kind of actual score. Purely for the Dwarven bragging rights, who did what. Also, any materials that show up, like jadis or any of the other minerals that you might have gathered in a mission, they are exactly the same shared across all the dwarves. So if you get 100, everyone gets 100. This is to stop any one player hoarding all the best materials. You've got 2 progression levels. One is for each individual dwarf and class. So for the engineer, you can see we've got the red bar nearly at the halfway point at the top, and I'm at level 1. That's going to be going up every time you use one of your classes and you gain enough experience to get to the next level. I.e., if you use nothing but the engineer, you might get up to level 25, but that means the rest of your classes, if you haven't been using them, are still going to be stuck on level 1. The blue number underneath is how many times you actually rank up with any of your classes. Every time you do get a level within one of your classes, it increases 1 section of the blue, which is 3 sections. This is your overall player rank. Certain missions, certain weapons, and certain additions won't be unlocked until you get your player rank to a certain level. And player rank goes up to 100. So if it takes 3 units or 3 level ups with one of your dwarves, that means you basically need to level up your dwarves 300 times to achieve the maximum rank in the game in your player account. There are other things that you can do to help this as well, like promoting or basically prestiging some of your classes, and it resets the counter, but it does mean then you can go ahead and carry on getting more upgrades for your overall player account. As said, these unlock special quests and assignments that you can get, but they also give you special titles as well, eventually earning the title things like Iron Guards or Longbeard or Lord of the Deep when you get to that high level. We'll go into the details of this in a second when I show you some more of the upgrade stations on the actual hub area. Then you've got the total hazard bonus, which is made out of 3 points. You get to choose, usually at the start of a mission, how difficult it will be. At level 3, the hazard bonus is going to be 75%, level 4 100%, and level 5 133%. So this increases your overall XP. Hazard level 5 is strictly behind a wall that you need to get to a certain level before you can unlock. It's effectively the hardest missions you can get. Next up, you've got the cave complexity. If it's just a 1-star cave, you're not going to get any additional hazard bonus on top of that. As you get through the game, they'll increase to 2 and 3. And at that stage, at 3, you'll find huge massive caverns that you have to use your special equipment to get across a lot, as well as more dangerous fauna and environmental factors. On top of that, you've got the cave length. Again, pretty similar. At level 1, you don't get any extra bonus, but level 2 and 3, they will go on forever, winding their way through, and this all increases. The complexity gives you 10% at level 2 and 20% at level 3, and same thing for the length. 10% at level 2 and 20% at level 3. So if you're doing a mission, sometimes the complexity and the length of the cave might be at level 3, so you might want to consider doing it at a slightly easier difficulty, otherwise it might just get too hard. That's what the dwarf said. If you fail missions, you'll only come back with 25% of the XP and the credits that you accrued. So it's much better to make sure you're trying out some of these quests on an easier setting and you get used to where stuff is, rather than repeatedly failing some of the harder quests. All of that combined leads to your total hazard bonus. So the hazard bonus will multiply how much gold, crafting materials and experience you collected in that mission by exactly how much it says. The Miner's Manual will give you a brief rundown of all of the missions, so do pay attention to this, but it's also worth pointing out that there are also some additional modifiers that can impact how hard the actual mission will be and whether or not you get extra rewards or make it even easier or more worthwhile completing certain missions. Anomalies are pretty much good modifiers. Sometimes you get double XP for completing that mission, or you may find things a bit easier as certain creatures will explode more. And the opposite of that, of course, is the warnings. These are attached to certain missions a bit later on. That would make the game a lot harder, or that mission type a lot harder to complete, but should mean you get more reward. A more recent addition is seasonal content. This is all free, there's no actual battle pass to buy, but it does give you a progression system where you can earn brand new cosmetics in game. And it looks likely with each new season they've got additional skin packs that you could go ahead and purchase. And these range from anywhere from like £5 up to £11, and they give you a whole selection of skins and stuff if you're interested in that side of things. But that's why I really like Deep Rock Galactic. It offers a lot of cosmetics and stuff for absolutely free just simply by playing the game. When you spawn in the hub or the space station, there's a whole bunch of different character screens, all sorts of modification stations that you're going to find. This is where it does get a bit overwhelming, so a brief, quick description of what they all do. The first one, character selection. This is where you can choose what class you want to use. You'll need to do this before you get onto the dropship, as whatever you enter in with, that's the class you'll be using. You can't change classes, and if you're playing with others, you can all duplicate ones, unless the host has said no. For me, the engineer is one of the best classes solo, followed by the scout. Now if you want to change your loadouts in terms of weapons and stuff, then you need to leave this area and go to the left hand side to this console here. They all have individual equipment, start weapons, side pistols or guns. But one thing all duels share, of course, is the same pickaxe. Eventually you'll be able to customise it a little bit and even purchase or unlock some modifications, which are the same for all the duels. The other thing that everyone has the same is pretty much flares, although a couple of the duels have more high intensity flares, like the scout and the gunner, and the medium flares are reserved for the engineer and the driller. All four dwarves also share exactly the same type of armour perks. They're named differently and they look different, but each one of these additions and modifications are exactly the same for all four dwarves. But you will have to level up each individual dwarf and spend money and resources on each unlock for each dwarf if you want them armour bonuses. And you can see you've got the red sign, that's pretty much the level up you need to unlock before you can get that special modification. You've got a bunch of loadouts that you can also choose, so if you're mixing up a certain occasion, if you're playing solo or playing with friends, you'll be able to just choose which one you want and it's already set up. When it comes to the gear modifications, you can only choose one in a run, so it's not worth necessarily unlocking all three. Just go ahead, once you get to the right level for that character, choose the one that sounds the most appealing to your playstyle. The only exception to this is with the armour, you do get some bonus additional markers where every 3 levels you'll get an extra 5% health. So basically unlock every single special bonus in the armour and you can go ahead and get 15 extra health. As I said, the modifications for the armour are all generic and standard across all 4 dwarves, but you will find modifications explicitly for some of the weapons and equipment are unique to each class. Although there are lots that are standard, they're just in different places. So things like having extra ammo size bags or being able to fire your gun a little bit quicker. Some are repeated as well in the different levels and ranks, and some of them do require more expensive materials. So if you want to double down on how fast you fire something, you may find that the second upgrade is more expensive. You don't also have to buy every modification to get to later ones. If you've unlocked to level 10, you don't have to have spent a single modification point on any of the previous ones if you just like the look of some of the later ones. Obviously they get more expensive as you go up levels, and some are going to require more resources. You can swap out your main weapon, your side weapon as well, but you need to unlock some of these options a bit later. You'll complete assignments and these will pretty much give you the option to then go and switch over to different weapons. You may need to get each dwarf up to a certain high level though before doing that as well. So the second option weapon, you won't be able to unlock the assignment for it until you get to level 10, and then the third option you won't be able to unlock until you get your dwarf to level 20. And when I say levels, I mean your actual individual dwarf levels, not your account. For your main and secondary weapons, you can also unlock new skins as well as your main equipment piece, but some of the stuff and equipment doesn't have any additional skins to unlock. So if you're a real completionist or you really like the look of one particular skin, then you are going to have to buy all of the modifications to rank up to achieve it. Lastly, you've got something called overclocking. This will pretty much be the forge that you unlock once you've got one of your dwarven characters to level 25. And it will effectively give you more additions to change the way that your gun fires. You might be able to add radioactive rounds to some of your guns, or you go ahead and increase even more how much ammo it can hold. But that's for another video, that's endgame content. You can switch up grenades at level 5 and level 10 also. You can change the actual shape and stock of an item, and you'll get a lot of this by doing the free season pass, and some of the skins that you learn also by unlocking some of these gear modifications. Likewise, the pickaxe is also somewhere where you'll find a lot of the actual skins available for it or to change and modify it. And again, you can use overclocking to unlock matrix cores, which you can use to customize some of these weapons even more with really special skins that you can get. There is no way to speed up any of this process with real world money. The last thing to note is you've got this little sidebar here. These are your perk points. You've got 5 in total, 3 passive and 2 active. Like I said, there's so many different screens, it can be a bit overwhelming. To look at your perks and see what ones you can equip and adjust, you need to head over to this mission statistics screen inside your bay, just opposite where you choose your character. There's a lot of stuff you can take a look at, all your stats for missions, and it's milestones that are going to give you perk points. Reach crafting level 6, reach 4 levels as a scout, complete 2 missions in sandblasted corridors, you get the idea. Each one will tell you exactly how many perk points you get for completing them. Generally, majority of them will offer 2 perk points, but as you can see, some do offer 5 as a reward. Then simply click on the perks, and then you can choose what ones you want to equip. The perk system is probably my least favourite part of Deep Rock Galactic, as I feel the perks just aren't that great. Not until you get onto the very later stages, but you need to spend a lot of perk points to get to this stage. It may say you need 7 supply points to get this resupply 6, but effectively you need to have also spent perk points on unlocking 3 perks for each run. This is what these arrows indicate. So if I want to unlock any of these, I need to have spent or bought at least 3 of the perks in the previous tree. This one I need 4 of these perks. This one I need 5 of these perks. 5, 5. You get the idea. Some of the perks are definitely geared towards helping other players more, like being able to pick up teammates quicker, or deal less fire damage as friendly fire is enabled, or get a sense of warning when a creature's about to chomp on your face. When it says active and passive, a lot of the active ones pretty much are going to just activate only a certain amount of times. So like heightened senses will only activate 2 times per mission, or iron will only activate once. Passive ones don't have a limit on how many times they're used, but obviously they will have cooldowns. So from left to right, let's take a look at some of these stations. Your pickaxe customization. As I said, a lot of this stuff is unlocked via the cosmetic season pass. And again, you don't have to spend money on that season pass. And just to show you exactly where it is, you can see your progress right here in front of the dropship. It's called Rivals Incursion for Season 1, and Season 2's due out, I do believe, in March. Complete the missions, rank up, unlock lots of new cosmetic items, rewards. In terms of gameplay, they simply add some more robotic and drone creatures that you'll have to take out on certain missions, as well as the general wildlife that you usually encounter. Effectively, you'll get a bunch of things called scripts, and the scripts are what you use to buy new cosmetic skins, emotes, or banners. We've already covered equipment. And then we've got one of the most important, especially for solo. Make sure you spend quite a few of your points on unlocking Bosco. Bosco is going to help you out and is effectively your NPC. He can shoot aliens, he can dig and mine resources, you can get him to guard certain pieces of equipment in certain missions. So I think personally this is one of the best things you should be putting money into in the early stages if you do play this game a lot on your own. You can get extra revives, so he'll pick you up. Remember, if you do fail a mission, that is it. You've only got a certain amount of revives, and if you're solo and you lose them all, you will die. The mission will fail and you only get 25% of your XP. Just like all the weapons and other equipment, it is tied behind levels, although Bosco is tied behind your account level rather than necessarily a dwarf level, which makes sense as all 4 dwarves can use Bosco, and it shouldn't take you too much time at all to get to level 5. Maybe a couple of hours, maybe 3 at max. I will have a separate guide for solo tips giving a lowdown on all of these perks and which ones I think are worth it. If you start a multiplayer match on your own, Bosco will come with you, but as soon as another player enters, he will disappear. After that, we've then got our mission select screen right in the centre of the hall. Different zones will open up and unlock as you progress, and the first thing you're going to be doing is the Conquer Hoxie's assignment. Assignments are pretty much how you unlock new weapons later on, or get to new areas and new missions as well. You're pretty limited in what you do, obviously in the first stages, but on the mission select screen it will tell you exactly what kind of materials on the left you can find, how difficult the mission will be, the mission length and the cave complexity. One thing I like is you can also see the rewards for later missions too, even if they are locked off. There is a timer, so these do refresh, and sometimes you'll get different missions with slightly different rewards, or different zones will be greyed out for a little while to keep things fresh and stop players from pretty much gaming or cheesing certain missions and certain zones. But this is effectively your 10 mission starter pack. Complete all this and you'll get a character easily to level 10, bearing in mind you're using the same character, and a whole bunch of rewards, items, and of course lots of minerals if you've been mining pretty well. The assignment board is what you need to actually activate. Once you've completed all 10 missions, you'll get a choice and selection of different ones. You can aim to get and unlock a new gun, or you can go ahead and unlock brand new mission types and harder difficulties. Then we've got the shop. The shop is pretty much cosmetics for your dwarf. Some of it is tied behind account level, and there's so much you can customise and unlock. And bearing in mind you do use these credits, the same credits that you're going to be using for upgrades and weapons, so I really wouldn't suggest spending any of your hard-earned credits on cosmetics in the early stages. For me, credits should be going towards your upgrades to your dwarves and then use the spare afterwards. The mineral trade is an assignment that you can unlock once you've completed the first Hoxie's assignment. It just means that if you're running out of a certain resource, you can go here and basically trade or swap or buy. Now when it comes to resources or the minerals, there's a whole bunch of them that are required to upgrade certain weapons. So there will be times where you might need a bit more bismor or jadiz, and so you might want to do a mission that's got more of that. The forge is where you're going to be overclocking eventually once you get to one of your dwarves up to level 25, and you've obviously promoted that character. And then you've got deep dives. This is pretty much the end game of the game. Again, you need to get one of your dwarves to level 25, and effectively it will give you 3 missions in a row. Within these 3 missions, you won't regain any extra health between missions, and your resources carry over. So you need to complete all 3 to really succeed. If you fail at level 2 or fail at level 3, that's it. You might not necessarily get all the rewards. These will unlock and give you more abilities, more items, and obviously more skins. Then we've got things for a bit of fun, like the bar, although some of these drinks do actually give you a little bit of a buff just before you do some of the deep dives, so it's worth making sure you have one before then. But again, you do need to rank up before you can unlock some of them. A little mini game of kick the barrel into the fiery pit of ring, or the fiery ring of pit. The jukebox, streamers and tubers, make sure you have this turned off in the options, as there is an option for it, just so you don't get any copyright. And then finally, you've got a bunch of places where you can go ahead and again, change the look of your dwarf. Your armor suits, your colours, whatever else you've unlocked. A medbay area, which is just to show you exactly what's been going on. If any of your mates are downed during a mission, this is where they'll revive, while the rest of you get off the dropship, if you can't revive them anymore. When you want to get a mission to proceed, jump up platform and head on in. The dropship will start going down and you're ready to go and take on more of Hoxie's challenges. Last thing to note is the Memorial Hall. It is going to be needed for when you want to promote one of your dwarven characters. Basically, when you get to level 25, you need to come here. And this is where you promote or prestige, if you want to call it that. And then you can basically start earning more levels so you can get your overall player rank up. Doing this once also unlocks the deep dives and the forge, as I just mentioned. You'll also get lots of different statues you can have once you get one of your classes to level 10. It's pretty blank at the moment, but you'll soon fill it up. But this is the most important piece. Promotions, once you're ready, come here with your level 25 dwarf and you'll be able to promote it, reset it, but get that special little badge. And there we go, that is how to play Deep Rock Galactic, explained for mostly PlayStation Plus owners that have picked up for the first time or a new player. And of course anyone else fresh to it. It's a great, fantastic game, one of the best co-op experiences you can try, and definitely look out for more guide tutorials from me incoming. Do leave a like if you found this useful, and I'll see you ratbags later.